Are Instagram Reels ruining photography? This is a very big complaint that I've seen on the internet, specifically with photographers, with the platform moving on from still photos over to short form video. And we're going to get into it. But before we dive into this controversial topic, I wanted to thank today's video sponsor, Squarespace. I've actually been using Squarespace for over 10 years now. Their templates and easy to use interface make it incredibly simple to create and maintain a professional looking website without any coding experience necessary. My Squarespace was an essential part of how I built my photography business. It allowed me to showcase my portfolio, share recent work on my blog, and also receive inquiries from potential clients through my contact form. If you're one of those photographers relying on your Instagram profile, and let's be honest, you're watching this video probably very frustrated with Instagram as being the sole place to share your work and build your photography business, I would consider making a website on Squarespace. You can visit squarespace.com/ReggieBallesteros to start a free trial and get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. So before we start this video, I want to set some context. I am a photographer that has actually built a big following on Instagram. I have almost 200,000 followers on Instagram, and a lot of them were made because of Instagram Reels. So I'm actually going to be very biased about Instagram Reels and short form video and the platform in general. So please take this into account. But the reality is I had a life before I was on Instagram. I built a following of only about 1,000 followers before short form video was even a thing, and I built up a wedding photography business that was purely based on SEO and not really on social media. So I did wedding photography for almost 10 years, and now I've transitioned into the content world, and that's where I'm going to talk about a little bit of my thoughts on Instagram from how it was before and to how it is today. The most popular complaint that I've heard is that Instagram isn't Instagram anymore. We want the old Instagram back because the original Instagram was really a place for photographers to connect, share their work, and still photos were the cream of the crop and the thing that got pushed out. And nowadays, there's Instagram Reels and short form video, and it feels like we're slighted because there's video and we're no longer the priority. One reality I want to point out is that, for example, if you were a bakery that makes cakes, back in 2015 or so, when Instagram was just still photos, if you were a baker, you had to hire a photographer or learn how to do photography in order to photograph your cakes so that you can get clients and sell them. But photographers just so happen to be lucky enough to have a very good overlap that photos were the thing, and we also took photos. So we had it easy. And now that we transition over to short form video as being the medium that's getting pushed out the most, photographers are very mad because now we have to learn something new, right? A bakery would just learn how to make short form video. Now photographers are at a point where we're like, okay, how come we have to learn how to make short form video? I'm angry because I'm no longer lucky. So I think part of this is to recognize that we were lucky before, not having to adjust anything to be part of the platform. And now that we have to adjust, we need to think about what we're going to do. The next point that I hear a lot is that Instagram Reels and just content in general cheapens photography. I understand. I hear that. Especially for audiences that look at our photos not as art but just as content. It gets a little sad, right? But the truth is, Instagram as a platform, the people who are on there, they don't care about us at all. They don't care about who we are. They don't care about our art. They don't really care about self-expression. And this is just the sad truth. They care about themselves. They care about learning things. They care about being entertained. They care about being able to participate in the conversation and relate. They are showing up for themselves. The sooner you can understand that, the sooner you can understand how to present your photographs, because the post is not the art itself. What you have to do is you have to figure out how to present it in a way that somebody actually can relate to it, find value to it, or be entertained by your photo, and you have to somehow connect that gap. Because I feel that with art and any type of message, you can adapt a great message, a great piece to any different type of platform or presentation. So you can take a photo and you can showcase it in a video. You can take a photo and you can showcase it in art gallery. The same goes with Instagram. You just have to find a way to present your photos that you're really proud of in a way that actually brings more context, brings more story, probably brings some education to an audience who doesn't give a crap about you so that they can actually see your photos. And I think that is how I've gamed it. If you don't want to do this, that's okay. Keep doing what you're doing, but you can't really want to grow and not do this. It's just, that's the reality of this landscape. Which brings us to the next complaint. It's like, what happened to just taking photos? We're doing so much to learn the photography skill. Why do we have to add something else? Why do we have to carry a GoPro? Why do we have to learn how to edit videos? Why do we have to think about a different layer behind the photo itself? And for me, I think, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with creating a story around our photos, thinking about a different layer? What's wrong with being able to present it in a multimedia way? What's wrong with learning a different aspect like video, which can actually enrich how you take photos? Because I have. A friend once told me, when I was a fan of hers for a long time and she didn't know who I was. And then finally I started creating content and getting some virality. And then she friended me on Instagram, and I said, like, it's cool that people are starting to notice me. And what she said was, you're already amazing. People just didn't know you yet. And that's like the sad truth. There's so many great artists. There's so many great creators out there, so many great photographers. And if you don't do anything to trip the algorithm to get some reach, you're just creating in a vacuum. And that's okay. If your goal is to create for yourself, that's fine. But if you want to reach people who your art is for, if you want to reach people who your story or community aspires to be, you have to try to game the platform a little bit. Is that goal worth it to you? Is it worth stretching a little bit so you can capitalize on this reach that can be had if that's your goal? But if your goal is to just make stuff for yourself, just have fun, totally disregard this tip, because it comes down to, are photographers willing to learn new skills, learning to add a little bit of layers to their photos themselves and adapt to this world? Or you want to just get passed up? Because sadly, that's what's going to happen. And the last thing that I hear a lot is like, I wish there was a platform just for photographers. There's Glass, there's Grainery, there was like Vero, that was like another Instagram competitor, and we're all searching for this other next platform that could be just for photographers. And I hear that. That's great. And I feel like if your goal is to just connect with other photographers, then there are places to find that. And you can try Glass, you can try Grainery. But if you want to actually expand and have your art, have your photography, have your services reach non-photographers, there's one thing that's missing from all those platforms that is on Instagram, that is on Threads, that is on Facebook. There are non-photographers on the platform. And in order to get some type of traction, you actually have to be able to sell yourself to people who want that. So whether it's people who can't photograph themselves, they need a photographer. There's people who can't, are struggling to learn photography, then they can follow you to learn a little bit more. Or if there's people who want to connect with other photographers, then sure, you could do that on Instagram because they're also there. But I think it helps to also have the regular people that are not photographers also surround your work so they can get inspired to start doing photography, because that's a lot of the people who follow me. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Instagram, specifically short form video? Does it ruin photography? Have you tried making them? Do you even want to learn the strategies that I did to go from 2,000 followers to almost 200,000 followers within 4 years?